Hi everybody, it's Oksana, and today I'm going to show you how to make this pendant right here. It's called Heady, I believe, this style that uses a lot of these coils and just basically has like a lot of metal around the stones. This is, I think, my first attempt at this type of flowy, swirly style with the coils. So hopefully this, came out in a way that will be helpful to people that are wanting to learn this style. And that's it. So if you want to see how I made this, then just keep watching. So in this video, I'm going to be using these two coils here. And I'm not going to make them from scratch in the video itself because it's very time consuming, and also I have a video on how coils are made. But I will provide you with all the details that you need, all the measurements and the wires right now. And then I will also link my video on making coils underneath this video, and I use something called a coiling gizmo to help do the first step, which is taking a thin wire. In my case, I'm taking 26 gauge round dead soft copper wire, and I'm basically just coiling that, and I'm using the coiling gizmo, and then I take that off. So then once my piece, that is the original coil, the 26 gauge wire, is 11 inches long. The first one is 11 inches and the second one is 12 inches. So then I go ahead and I stop, and then because the coiling gizmo, it's almost like a little hard wire that helps you kind of wrap around it really quickly. So then you remove that wrap or coil that's made with the 26 gauge wire off of it, and you put another piece of wire through it. So again, 11 inches and 12 inches for these. And then you're getting some 22 gauge round wire, about 22 inches long, two pieces, and you're putting one through each. So now you have 26 gauge coiled wire that is on 22 gauge wire. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take two pieces of 18 gauge round wire. So that's this right here. And they are 11 inches about. And then you're taking that 22 gauge wire that has the 26 wrapped around it, and then you're wrapping that around the 18 gauge to get the coil. And then for some extra detail, and these are different on this one, which is the slightly shorter one. See how it's just slightly shorter because one of the coils was 11 and one was 12 inches. So what I did on the slightly shorter one is I took some half round wire that is 22 gauge, and I just kept that on the spool. I didn't measure it off because it'd just be a really big piece. And so I just kept it on the spool, and I just kind of wrapped it here, and then I wrapped it around and around the coil. See that? Half round wire, and I did it the flat side up, not the half round side up. And then on this one, I took a 24 gauge wire. Again, I kept it on the spool, probably about 35 inches if you wanted to actually cut a piece off. And so then I put that in between each coil as well, just kind of wrap that around. So that is how I made these coils. Those are all the wires and measurements. I also just quickly want to show you that these coils, they are about 5 millimeters thick because my hands are really small, and so it's really deceiving. People always think that everything will be larger, and it's thin. These are nice thin coils. So they're about 5 millimeters. And they ended up being 4, just ever slightly under 4 inches. And then this one is just the tiniest bit more than 4 inches. So you want to hold these together. The one that's slightly longer is on top. And we're bending them until they overlap this part here where we started, so just like this. And now in the other direction. You also overlap. And so you almost have like a little figure 8. Now you want to hold these nice and tight, and we're going to be taking these wires here. So we'll start here. I'm taking the one that's shorter. If you happen to have, one that's shorter and one that's longer, take the one that's shorter and put it through twice. You can use your pliers to help. Now we're just going to trim that little end off, and then we're going to grab it and point it down. Okay? And then here, this one is a little shorter than the other wire, so I'm going to grab that. I'm going to put it through. Once and twice. So here's what it looks like. I'm going to trim that and point that down. So now you want to put a coil, if you want to use your coiling gizmo. It's the second thinnest little thingy on there, because this is 18 gauge wire. So if you use the thinnest option on the coiling gizmo, it won't fit. So I use 26 gauge wire, and I just put a coil on these wires here. And now you're going to take that coil and you're going to bend it to kind of go along in between these other coils here. This one actually, I'm going to bring this way across. Like that, and then I'm just going to remove just a little bit of that coil, and I'm going to bring this wire inside. Like that. So actually, I didn't like the way that this wire looked with the coil on it. So I just removed the coil. I just kind of pulled it right off. So I'm gonna leave this wire bare, but it's just going around this way, and then it's going here through this hole, and then here it is coming out the other side. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave this for now. I am gonna finish this stuff. I could, actually, there's one more thing that I can do to this frame. I'm gonna slide up this coil just because it keeps sliding down. And there we go. I'm gonna take this little tail here, this little tail end. I'm gonna make a loop with it using my round nose pliers. Actually, I think I'm just gonna cut it because I want the loop to be a little smaller. Yeah, more like this, okay. There we go, just kind of like that. So here are my stones, and we are gonna be securing the stones in another way so that even if they are popping through these holes, they will stay put. But I personally like them to be a little smaller than the hole just because then you don't see any space around the stone, if you know what I mean. So this one is borderline too tiny, and if I push on it really hard, I can get it to pop through this hole. But it's okay because we're gonna secure them in another way, so that won't be a problem. So what I'm gonna do is I'm taking 21 gauge square dead soft wire, and I have two pieces that are 11 inches, and I have one piece that is about 15 inches. This piece that's extra long, what we're gonna do is make a loop kind of like this with those extra like 5 inches or so. So now I'm taking one piece of the shorter, the 11 inch ones here, and I'm grabbing it and I'm twisting it. I'm just gonna twist the whole entire thing. So see, it looks like that when you twist it. So once you've twisted that all the way, here's what you wanna do. You wanna take this piece with the big loop, you wanna put the other piece kind of next to it, and then your other piece that's not twisted next to that, so that the wires are going like this. See how they're like lined up, twisted, the one with the loop, and then the other one. So now I'm gonna take some 26 gauge round dead soft wire, and you can use the half round. The half round is probably a little easier, but because I have the round wire going around the coils, I figured that'd be easier. So I cut myself a really long piece. I don't know how long this is, maybe like 24 inches or so. And I'm gonna take that piece right in the middle, and I'm gonna start weaving first on the right hand side of the coil. Or actually, I'm sorry, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this through the coil just a couple of times. So I'm wrapping kind of like in the middle, just like 2 wraps. And now I'm gonna go ahead and wrap around these 3 wires. So I'm gonna do 1 loop, and now I'm gonna do 2 loops around bottom 2 wires, 2 loops around top 2 wires, and you can do whatever you want. This honestly doesn't really matter. It's just gonna hold the wires together. Actually, I meant for this to go this way. Okay. Bottom 2 and top 2 again, and that's probably good enough now. And I'm just gonna finish that off by wrapping just like twice around the topmost wire, just so I can finish off my weaving wire. So now I'm just gonna pinch that down. You can just kind of go over this with your pliers, tighten it up. Here's what it looks like. And now I'm gonna it over and weave around these 3. So I want this to be kind of similar. So I'm gonna wrap around. In this case, it's the top wire because I kind of flipped it over now. And then I'm gonna do the 2 wires. So that's the top 2 wires, and then the, oh, actually it's not. Here we go. Let me move that loop down a little bit. So you can just tighten up this loop. That might make it easier. All right, so 2 around the top 2, and then 2 around the bottom 2. Almost done here. 2 around the top 2. So I'm just trying to tighten everything up. So same thing. Same exact thing that you did on that side, we're just doing on this side. I just kind of finished it off real quick off camera just to make it quicker. So now, you can just kind of take a closer look at these. Tighten up. This is a part that you're going to be seeing potentially. So now I'm taking my stone, and this twisted wire is the front. And I am securing my stone. I'm putting it in like this, putting the wire around it like that. There we go. Bending this. You can take your stone out for a minute. Taking my 26 gauge round wire, wrapping that around. You can do half round wire too. Wrapping it around a lot. If you take this and you put this little frame on the back of it, so this will be your teardrop shaped stone. This will need to be a little bent. Okay, this will be our teardrop shaped stone, and then up here will be the other little stone. That's why I'm wrapping so much, because I'm trying to get this to be tall, nice and tall, so that when we put our stone in, it reaches where it's supposed to reach. And I'm just wrapping around these 3. I'm just finishing off my wire. And these 3, and that's probably good. Just gonna cut my little wire and just tuck in that little tail end of it. Here's what it looks like from the front. This. And we still have this little tail as well, so just gonna wrap that I'm just gonna wrap that a couple of times and cut it. And just tuck it in, just to secure it and finish it off. Now I'm taking this teeny little stone here, and I'm bending my wires around it like this. I'm gonna pop the stone out, and I'm gonna take some more wire. I'm gonna wrap it around this portion up here. Just a bunch of times. Make that nice and secure. Then I'm going to take the back 2 wires on each side and bend them out of the way so that all I'm left with are these twisted wires. And then just weave a pattern for your bail. So I'm just going to do the 1 loop around the bottom, 1 loop around the top, and then 1 all the way down across both. So bottom, top, and both. And obviously that needs to be tightened up, but that's the pattern I'm gonna do for as tall as my bail. So then when you're done, cut off and pinch down that little tail end. And same with this little wire that we started with, maybe just wrap that a couple of times around through the middle there. So then you just cut and pinch down that little end of your wire. So the twisty wire is the front, which just means that that's the side that's going to be facing our little figure 8 of coils. So now, see this little bump right here? So what you want to do is kind of create a little bit of a bump here so that it lays on top of it more nicely. So now let's finish our bail. Let's just bend that into our shape like that. And then these wires, these twisted wires, I am just gonna put them this way and wrap them around just to secure it. And then I'm just gonna trim them. So I just wrap them around and around. Trim them, and I have this little end, which I'm just gonna pinch so that it kind of goes inside of my bail and does not stick out. And I have the same thing here on this side. Okay, so now bail is done and it's all attached. So it's time to put in the stone. So here's my itty bitty little stone. I'm just popping that in. And on the back, actually, you know what might be easier? Is to move these wires first and then just pop the stone in. Or you can do it this way too, but I'm just moving the back wires onto the back of the stone so that the stone does not pop out. There we go. See, just like that, now it can't come out the back. Now it can probably pop out the front, so you just wanna make the front wires, the little twisted wires, you just want them to be just a little more on the edge of your stone. Maybe just kind of squish them up here. See how I'm doing that? See how they're trapping it in? Trapping that stone in. Okay, that's obviously too much, but what I like to do is I just kind of overshoot it and then I open these back up. So now it's trapped in there. It won't pop out. And same thing with our little teardrop here. So on the back, I'm just taking that backmost wire and I am bending it onto the stone. And then in the front, if you want to make this wire kind of come up on the edge of your stone, if your stone, especially if your stone feels a little loose, to just really trap it in there. You can kind of go down here and bend from the bottom as well. So that's the securing the stones, and I'm gonna actually cut this right here so that we have 2 wires. That was the point of that little loop, is having additional wires on the bottom of this pendant to secure it to the back of this portion. So now you want to put this up against your little figure 8 coil. And then this wire that's been sticking out here for a long time now, we're gonna take that and let's see where we can put it. We can just go all the way around and then maybe just put it around this coil here, the first coil. So now, just have to move things around to get them to look nice if they got moved out of place. So that doesn't hold it like super steady, it just holds it for a little bit, but it's not gonna super securely hold it. We have to use these wires and these wires to secure it more. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this wire, I'm gonna twist it, my bottommost wire. I'm gonna do that to both of them. I'm just gonna twist them real quick. All right, so what I'm gonna do is the one on the right, I'm gonna bring that up here and I'm gonna put it through, it's kind of hard to see, but I'm just popping it through that hole onto the other side where the stone is. So see how it's kind of going through here, and then here it is coming out this side. So I'm just gonna pull that, wrap it around right here, cut it, and then just sort of tuck away that little wire end. All right, so now we're gonna use this wire to secure this because this is not really like attached to anything right now. So I'm taking this other wire and I'm wrapping it kind of around, bringing it to the back. So then you are kind of pulling it through, so adjust it before you pull it tight. Adjust it so that it is positioned where you need it to be, which is right below that loop, like that. And then here on the back, I'm just gonna cut it. And I'm gonna tuck it away just down around this wire, which is the same wire. Just kind of it in there. Okay, so now we used both of these wires on the bottom to attach. Now we just have to attach the front because the front is still, the top, it's wobbly. So one of these two wires, doesn't really matter which one, I'm gonna use it down here, so I'm just gonna pull it down and out of the way right now, leaving myself with 3 wires up here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna twist these wires right now real quick. So actually I decided to only leave 2 wires here at the top. So I cut 1 wire on each side and I'm just tucking away those little wire ends. If you can see that, just bending them down on each end. And so there's 1 twisted wire on each side and then one of the wires is tucked away. All right, so slight change of plans. I know I twisted this, but then I just really think that it would be better if it had a coil on it, or it would look better. You don't have to do this, but I decided I'm gonna go ahead and put a coil on that. So I am bringing this, let me see here, down, and it's just gonna go around, and then it's just gonna, you can kind of lift up the, I'm just curling it around like this. So I'm just following that other wire, curling it around, and then once I get to right here, I am tucking it to the back. And then here on the back, so first I'm gonna pinch down that little weaving wire because I never did that. I am going to, I just wanna secure it and just wrap it around something. So I see this wire coming through the, this was the 18 gauge wire that we had. So I'm gonna try, all right, I think it's gonna work. I'm gonna try and just wrap it around that 18 gauge wire. Okie dokie. And you don't have to, just whatever is convenient, just secure it basically. All right, so I wrapped it around this wire here. And actually, I think I'm gonna cut this one too. I don't know, I'm looking at this and I think it's gonna be kind of less is more. Feel free to use it if you want. I just have so much going on already that I just don't want to necessarily add more wires. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take a largish piece of 26 gauge wire. I'm just gonna cut that because we still have to attach this. See how it's not completely attached, and I was thinking that maybe I should, you know, attach it with those thicker wires, but I really think it'll look better if I attach it with my 26 gauge wire. So I'm taking this wire and I'm putting one end on one side of the stone and one end on the other side of the stone, and both ends through this hole, like this. So then I am taking one end at a time and I'm just putting it, you'll see in 1 second, like this. So it's going around these, but then underneath the coil, and now I'm putting it through again, just pushing it from the back, and this time I'm putting it over the coil here. And then once I have that here on this side, I am just kind of tucking it under here and I'm wrapping it and putting it in my bail. You're just basically, I'm finishing off the end of it, I'm attaching it to something. So I'm just gonna wrap it several times. Because this is a thin wire, you wanna wrap this quite a bit or it's gonna not hold as well. So I'm wrapping that quite a lot just right around the bail. And then I will cut that off. And I will just tuck that little end into the bail. Pinch that down. Okay, so that's right there. And I think I want to do the same thing on the other side. And one thing I'm noticing is you can kind of see this wire. So I'm just going to use my pliers to just kind of bend it in there. So now it doesn't, you can't see it as much. So then my other end here, I'm actually going to pull it back out. Instead of having to go through the front, I'm pulling it back out, and I want to have it go this way. So just over the coils and the other 2 wire, but not 2 wires. So it's going over the coil and then the next 2 wires. And I think that's it. I think I'm good with it. So I'm gonna wrap it around, this wire here, the one with the coils on it. This one here. So I'm just gonna wrap it around that a few times, maybe like 4 times or so. And just to make sure that that's going to be really secure. And then I'm going to trim it and I'm going to tuck that little end away. Okay, so now it's attached. This front portion is attached to that back portion via these little wires here. And now the only thing that I think I want to do is put some beads on. So I'm just grabbing my 26 gauge wire. I'm just cutting myself a long-ish piece. And I have here some copper beads. I have, this is so tiny, a 2mm bead, a 3mm bead from Rio Grande, they are, and then another 2mm bead. So I'm putting one of my wire ends through here, kind of like in between the coils, so to speak. Not where the stone is, but like underneath this big thick coil. And then my other wire end, I'm putting it, just lifting this up with my finger. And I'm gonna see if I can get it in there. Oh, I can, perfect. Underneath this coil here. So here is what that looks like. And all I have to do now is just attach these wires. I'm just gonna do that really quick off camera so I don't bore you, but I'm just wrapping them around. I'm just gonna do this wire. That's a convenient wire to wrap them around just maybe 4 or 5 times to make sure they're just nicely attached and they're not gonna go anywhere, and then I'll just trim them off. All right, so I finished that little wire off, tucked it away, and now you just wanna take a look and make sure everything is secured. I actually do wanna secure one more area, so if you look here, now this is attached, it's not gonna go anywhere, it's got the 2 wires going, but maybe you can see this little kind of gap here, see? I think that what I want to do is I want to just take some 26 gauge wire and wrap just a little bit there to secure, but then that's going to be the last thing that I'm going to do. So I'm going to put that through right here. Hold on. There we go. Can you see that little gap now? Right there. Right above the stone, like in the stone frame itself. And this end, I'm just gonna secure by wrapping it around this wire here. whole bunch of times because when you pull on the other end, you don't want this to come unraveled. So then here's my other end, and it's coming this way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring it through right here, so above the coil that's up against the stone, and then the next one, but underneath this side coil. So like this, and then I'm bringing my wire back through. I'm gonna see if I can get it. I really want to get it underneath. There we go. Underneath this coil. And this way. And now I'm wrapping it. You know, it's coming from under this coil, so now it's going around this one, going to the back. And then here on the back, I'm just gonna wrap it around this wire here, this little twisted wire. So I'm just gonna finish that really quickly off camera, just wrapping this and then cutting off all the little tail ends. All right, so that is all done. So I think now I am satisfied with how attached it is, and that is it. That is this pendant, this very coiled pendant that is extremely time consuming to make, but I haven't done too many tutorials in this style, mainly because it's extremely time consuming. It would be like the longest video ever. But I thought that I would do one, so hopefully this is helpful if you're wondering about this style. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.